Welcome to Caribbean Connect. As we know, Suriname is one of the most vulnerable countries in regards to sea level rise and climate change. We have seen already some issues on the coastal area where the mangrove forests are disappearing, and Suriname is taking measures to implement several actions to address this situation. Sea level rise is posing a great threat to Suriname since 80% of the population is living in the coastal area and most of the economic activities are also in this area. Today we will talk with Mr. Sieuwnath Naipal. He's a professor at the University of Suriname, and with him we will discuss some measures that Suriname has been taken to address the issues of the coastal area. Mr. Naipal, welcome and great pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you.
Maybe you could tell in brief remarks what your position is at the university and what the project is that you are implementing.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I am from specialist hydrologist. I've done also a lot of meteorology, and at this moment I'm chairing the uh, chair climate change and water. So in this respect, I've done a lot of studies regarding the hydrology, also implementing micro hydropower in hinterland. But the main action at this moment is to rehabilitate the mangrove, since we are a country with low-lying coast, and you have mentioned just 80% of our population are living and working in these low-lying coastal area. We have a lot of agricultural land, fertile land, and water resources. And these are, at this moment, on the threat of silver rise, on the threat of the erosion going on. And as we know that sea level rise will continue for probably centuries, you have to take measures now. And we from the university are well aware about it. And we are not just only taking measures regarding the studies, but also regarding how to implement this. And I'm in the position now to do that.
Okay, you mentioned this project, and could you tell us what is this project all about? The mangrove, it's disappearing. What is Suriname? What are you doing with your co-workers to address this situation?
Yeah, we have, starting with the mangroves, we have in general three variety of mangroves. The black mangrove, you call it Rhizophora mango, no, sorry, Avicennia geminensis. The red mangrove, Rhizophora mango, and the white mangrove, that is Laguncularia racemosa. In Suriname, we have their own names. Parwa is for the black mangrove, mangrove is for the red mangrove, and akira is for the white mangroves. So these mangroves, in general, they are found in the coastline. But the dominant variety is the black mangrove on the coastline. Along the downstream rivers, we have the red mangrove, and the estuarine zone, we have the white mangrove. So the black mangrove has phenomatories, like pencil-like roots coming from the ground to the top, while the red mangrove has aerial roots coming from, proper roots coming from the top below. So, and there are also another aspect that is the water quality. And with respect to their constructions, how they are actually living, the black mangrove are found little higher up where water is coming and flowing back again, while the red mangrove can have remaining in water because they can have proper roots from top. And akira is found in between. So what's happening now? Since the sea level is rising and keep on rising, and time to time we have waves coming in with high swells, water is penetrating into the area, and it may stagnate, it might stop, it might not flow back, with the result that the roots are overtopped for days, weeks, and even months. Water cannot flow because the creeks are disrupted. The creeks are filled with mud or sediments, so that water cannot flow back. As a result, water are stagnated, the roots are overtopped, and the mangroves dies. So this is not only one or two mangroves are dying. This is a huge amount of mangroves are dying. We have in totally about 80,000 and more hectare of mangroves. So we are getting benefits from that. Benefits in terms of coastal protection, but also mangroves offers a lot of habitat for the fish, for the birds, etc. And when you lose that part, you are losing a lot. So we have to find ways how to protect the mangroves, ways to protect the mangroves. If you don't do that, you will lose all this what you have. And in case you have to bring back, that means you have to buy. And that is a high pressure on it, on us, on the people who are living along the coast.
Okay, and this project to regrow the mangrove trees, how is this conducted? How do you go about it?
Yeah, we have started in district Koroni, where the district is sandwiched between two water bodies, one the north from the ocean, Atlantic Ocean, and from the south, the Koroni swamp. We're sandwiched. And there, the erosion rate was very high, higher than 100-meter loss every year. So finally it was decided to build a dam, a dike, a sea dike. It is there now, but the sea dike is about 14 kilometers long. I mean, east of the sea dike and west of the sea dike, erosion still takes place. So what to do with that? So the decision was to start plant mangroves. So we started in 2010 already with planting mangroves on an approaching mud bank where you can, as much as possible, to trap the sediments. And with that experience, we came to Weg naar Zee, that's Paramaribo North, where you know there's also a huge erosion going on. And where people are also trapped because Weg naar Zee is an area of agriculture. It is like a vegetable garden for Paramaribo, and it's on the threat. It is also a very low land. It's drained already for agricultural purposes. The mangroves are getting lost. So if we don't rehabilitate the mangrove, means a dike will come back again. And that means loss of also the mangrove ecosystems and the goods and services. So we started here, but there is no mud bank in front of Weg naar Zee. And the mud banks are moving all the time from east to west with a different velocity. The mud banks has a dimension of 30 kilometers to 5 kilometers deep in the sea. But it has also a thickness about 3 to 5 meters. So if the mud banks pass away, you have a gully in front of the coastline where the waves are very, very strong. So you can keep on eroding the coast. You have two options, two choices actually, a choice to put a dike and to prevent happening further, or you think about how you can use natural-based solutions to stop this going on. And we have started with sediment trapping units. That means it's like a permeable wooden dam built on poles and bamboos, so that incoming waves can be mitigated and sediment can be deposited. So when the sediment deposited, then you can plant mangrove, or the mangroves that are there is being protected.
So actually what you're saying is when the sediment comes in the straps, it can't flow back to the sea?
It can flow back, but not with that amount. So what we are trying to do is change the balance of getting in to the coastline of mud and getting out. So you have a balance. If you can have more than go out, then we have a positive balance. If you have that more is going out and less coming in, you have a negative balance. That means you are losing. But another part of the sediment trapping units is that you avoid mangrove loss. Avoid. That means that you stop that mangroves are getting lost, because rehabilitation costs also some money and efforts and time. While you have the mangroves, if you can restore or you can protect not from getting lost under pressure of sea level rise, climate change, and erosion, then it is more effective than when you start planting, because you are starting with the seed, getting the nursery, transporting these plants into the location, and then plant, and to wait if the plants are getting a tree.
And so far, how large is the area that has been replanted since you started this project?
In Koroni, we had a pilot of several hectares, up to 5. In Weg naar Zee, we have a length already of 1.5 kilometer, up to 500 meter. So that area is more or less stable. We are getting sometimes more land. But on the other hand, you have to take measures, and you have to take into consideration the behavior of the sea. When the sea level is rising and including high waves in, then you have a very high force coming in, and that's supposed to be mitigated. So this part is also very important to map, to understand the timing of the year, and how to monitor all this. But in general, we have a great view on it, and we can work with nature.
How long do you think this could take for the mangrove forest to be restored?
The mangrove forest in general grows very fast. Within 1 year, it can reach a height of about 2 meters, even 3 meters, within 1 year. So it's growing very fast, that's not a problem. We have already some experience, we have some skills already built, and I think now we can scale up. But scaling up depends on the support that you have. It is not only finance, it is also the people supposed to be, more and more people supposed to accept this kind of concept. But also you need appropriate technologies to move on the mud bank. Because you cannot work only when water is, when you have low tide, and then you can work. But if you have appropriate technologies, then you can work also when you have high waters. So technology is very important to scale up and to do as fast as possible. And indeed, the finance is supposed to be in place to do that. Because it's very important to have the mangroves. It's not only, if a dike will protect few people who are living behind the dike, then the mangrove protect populations. So therefore, we have to go for that part, so that more and more area is being covered by mangroves.
We know that besides that the mangroves are protecting the coastal areas, it is also one of the best plants to be used, or which act as a carbon sink. And you just mentioned the issue of finance. If we take into account that these plants, these trees, are a carbon sink, and Suriname is covered with possibly the most forest in the world, shouldn't there be mechanisms for countries like Suriname to get financing for this kind of projects?
Yeah, I agree with you in that in this line. Mangrove has a lot of carbon sequestered, especially in the soil. So we have fine sediments, that means mud, very fine sediments. So whenever a leaf, let's say, or a branch fall down and has been covered by the mud, they will be remaining in the mud for years. And that is sequestration of carbon. So mangrove is a sink. But if erosion takes place, mangrove can be an emission. That's why it's very important to protect that part. But indeed, since we can do that, we have the technology to protect the mangroves, we're supposed to have the support to get the finance and to get the technologies, or even to develop that so that we can go further. So, yeah, we are at the technical part working this, but if you asking me about how to deal with that, I think that is on the table of the governments, because the coastal zone of Suriname is protected for a larger part, except Paramaribo North and I think a part of Galibi. There are two areas, small areas, that are not protected, but in general, the total coast of Suriname is protected. So the government is supposed to work on this as fast as possible, and I think indeed supposed to look for the finance, and this is important indeed.
Okay, the Secretary General of the United Nations, he is in Suriname at the moment, and he visited the area where
Yeah.
you replant the mangrove. He also planted one of the trees. In the cooperation with the United Nations, are there programs that the actions that you are taking could benefit from?
I think that is indeed the exact line, along with the governments should work with the UN, because mangroves is not only for Suriname, as I'm saying, it's also for the region, it's also for the world, and mangrove is not only in Suriname, is among more than 100 countries in the world, it's around the tropics. So it is very important, not only in Suriname to protect or to plant mangrove, but I think over the whole tropics. And all these countries, including Suriname, supposed to get the support, because mangroves not only protect your coast, mangroves give you much, much more. It has links with, I think, more than 5 to 6, even to 10, I think, SDGs. So if you have mangroves, not only in Suriname, but in the wider world, I think that is what we're supposed to go for. And we have to exchange indeed what is being done, for instance, in Guyana, for instance, in Trinidad, for instance, in other CARICOM countries, or even to other locations in the world about mangroves. Can we share that knowledge? Can we do it as fast as possible? Because there's no time left anymore. The sea level is rising, and a lot of people are living in a low-lying coastal zone. So we have to share the information, how to adapt towards this while also mitigating, because mangrove sequester a lot of emissions, emissions being trapped there, but also provide a lot of food. It prevents you, it protects you. So therefore, it is very important. It cleans also the ocean. It gives life to the ocean. So it is for the whole world very important to support mangrove wherever mangroves are growing. It's about 123 countries in the world has mangroves. So these countries can provide a huge benefit to the world. So first of all, not only Suriname is working on this part, I think a lot of countries are working on this part. Let's share the information. Let's see what you have done and how this can be done, because technologies can be shared very fast. And indeed, on the other side, you have the policymakers. They're supposed to open the road so that the flow of finance and technologies can be easily done. The barriers supposed to be taken off so that we can work, because those questions are on the table of the governments, the policy questions. We cannot work on that level, but we can implement that. If the policies are clear, transparent, comes in, we are working. And I think we can contribute very fast to that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor Naipal, for sharing this with us. And this was Caribbean Connect. Till the next.
Lime Network, your business channel.